Hello, everyone, and welcome to Scarred Lands Sins of Shelzar, our new actual play Scarred Lands stream, which it occurs to me I should probably fix a little bit on my audio setup here because I don't think you can hear any of my players. So that's probably a problem. Let me get that added on. Oh, I'm sure they can't. Um, yeah, I had to build a whole new thing, and it looks like, in all of my brilliance, I forgot desktop audio capture. Yeah. Yeah, thanks, OBS. So while I'm putting that together, um, I will once again just say welcome to Scarredlands Sins of Shelzar, our brand new campaign. And so, do we see... There we go. Let's go ahead and hear from our players. Everybody say hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey guys.
Woohoo! I have levels, so chances are good that worked. All right. I'm sure chat will let us know in a hurry if it didn't. So, yeah, while we're getting all that fixed and set up, this is our new Scarredland stream. If you are here from before, welcome back. We have, for the time being, said goodbye to the adventures of the Ladies of Extreme Drowse and are now pushing forward with a whole new tale set in the world of Scarred Lands. And for those of you who are not familiar, Scarred Lands is a 5th edition setting published by Onyx Path Publishing. I am the line developer at present on that setting. And it is, my elevator pitch for it is Greek mythology mixed with heavy metal magazine by way of Dungeons and Dragons. So there was a giant war between the Titans and the gods about 150 years ago. And this war happened on the ground, so it kind of broke basically everything. And now people are trying to rebuild society. And so for the younger races like humans, people who don't live so long, this is something that maybe their grandparents or great grandparents were involved with. But for the longer lived races like elves and dwarves, it's entirely conceivable that they might have fought in the Titans War. So you might have fought shoulder to shoulder with a god in your youth and still be an adventurer in this setting. So it's very much a thing that has happened in living memory. And so the Titans could be defeated but not killed. So there are many places where the landscape itself was twisted by this war. The Fangs Fall Mountains in the west are the actual teeth of the Titan Gorak, the glutton. His teeth were ripped out and thrown, and when they landed, they formed a mountain range. The Blood Sea to the east of Galspad is called the Blood Sea because it's literally filled with blood. There's a Titan chained at the bottom of it with his heart ripped out, and he is still bleeding into the sea, turning the sea red and his blood corrupting all of the life there. So it's a fun, it's a nice place to visit. It's a good vacation spot for take your family, and we are setting our tale there. We are specifically setting our tale in a city known as Shelzar. Shelzar has a reputation throughout the entire continent of Galspad as being the city of sins. Pretty much anything you can imagine can be bought or sold on the streets of Shelzar. The upper crust nobility of various nations goes there for gambling and companionship and sample new drugs. Strangely enough, drunkenness is illegal in public in Shelzar. But basically any other chemical is totally fine. And there's a lot of trade that goes on through Shelzar. There's a port. It's right on the Blossoming Sea. And so there's a pretty active port in Shelzar. Lots of trade going in and out, some of it legal, some of it maybe not so legal. And there is a massive open air market, souk, that's renowned throughout the land. Is basically a place where you can buy pretty much anything. Now, the district of town that is next to the souk is known as the Maze. It's referred to locally also as the Seven Sins. It's the, for lack of a better term, red light district of Shelzar. So everything that I've said was true of the city is 10 times as true in the Maze. Law enforcement is less adamant there and less present there. The streets themselves are often very narrow. Sometimes the buildings are so close together that the roofs overlap and the sun can't even be seen for blocks. And that is the neighborhood where we are going to begin our tale. So now that I've gotten through that whole big long opening spiel, what I would like to do, since this is our session 0, our group session 0, if you've been supporting me on Patreon, you'd see that all the character creation, with the exception of Sarah's character, we've got a video up right now on the Patreon of those characters being created. So if you want to go over to patreon.com/Travis Legg, you can watch in detail and see kind of how we came to the decisions individually. But since we've got everyone here and we've got a huge party, we're going to go around the table and I'm going to have everybody introduce themselves, state their pronouns, and then introduce your character, state their pronouns, and just tell us a little bit about the character. You know, a couple sentences, you know, maybe the race, class, a little bit of it, 1 or 2 sentences about who they are, and then maybe a physical description so that everybody can sort of get on the same page and understand who everyone is playing. Why don't we go ahead and start things off with Sarah?
Okay, if I remember, I'm Sarah Sharnover. What am I answering now? My pronouns, she, her. I'm playing, this is harder than it seems like it should be. I'm playing Charlie, who is a, what are they called in this? I'm playing a Manticora, and her pronouns are also she, her. And was that it?
Just a little bit about like who they are, you know, what class you're playing, what they look like, and just a little bit about like maybe their history, who they are, a sentence or two, something to get to know them by.
That's important. If I hadn't made her about an hour ago, this would be a lot easier. I appreciate you making me go first. It was very nice of you. She's a bard. That is literally all I can tell you right now.
Ooh.
Nice.
Rope trick.
Always fun. Always fun.
Sweet. And I believe we had discussed she had traveled to Shelzar from Leone, which is where the Manticora are from. Is that, am I remembering that correctly?
Sure, that sounds good.
Excellent. Next up, going around the table, Tori, why don't you tell us all the information, who you are, your pronouns, who you're playing, their pronouns, class, race, and a little bit about you, including what you look like.
Excellent. I will try to remember all that as well. My name is Tori Clark. I am an actress, model, director, whatever, here in Los Angeles. And I am she and her. Now, should we talk about the character? So my character is fun. I'm excited about this. That's why I look like this. My character is a tiefling. Her name is Tan Todaba, which Todaba means 7 in Somali. I don't know why. I just wanted to say that. Basically, she grew up on the streets, didn't have really a right or wrong. You know, she wasn't, you know, seeing anyone that looks like her. There's not a lot of tieflings here. She felt lost, and one day she tried to steal something, and they tried to chop off her hand for it. But then this amazing monk named Todaba saved her from getting cut off. So then she took on his ideals and wants to be a better person. So she really wants to figure herself out. She wants to help others. She has a little quirk of being possessed by the 7 deadly sins at any time. Every day she could possessed by another sin. That really makes her struggle with her common core of trying to be good and nice to other people. And her needs and wants aren't always her own. If she's like a living contradiction. But basically she's like 6 feet tall. She has little black horns, pointy teeth, yellow eyes. Sometimes her eyes will change colors depending on the sin. She's got large bat wings, almost like wears them like the gargoyle like cartoon, like in front of her, almost like a cape.
That's awesome.
Doesn't have very nice stuff. She's a monk. She's poor, street rat, growing up. But she's super happy and nice creature, even though she looks kind of scary. And she just wants to spread peace and love, even though sometimes personalities take over that don't really lead to that. So yeah, that's Tan. And she named herself Tan because she was tan.
Beautiful. Love it. All right, cool. Thank you so much. Next up, though you can't see them, I assure you, Corey is there. So please, if you would.
I am here.
Tell us who you are, your pronouns, who you're playing, their pronouns, race, class, a little bit about them, and their description, please. Also, real quick, before Corey gets started, because we have such a massive group, I do just want to remind the players to, whenever possible, if you're not talking, mute, just because it's real easy for one little sound from 8 different sources to turn into a cacophony.
Gotta love feedback. My name's Corey Frang, they, them. I am playing Charlung, who is he or they, them or him. It really doesn't matter. Kind of gender neutral by like dress and accoutrement, i.e. wearing lots of like jewelry. And orc, sorcerer, who is a tattooist. Who travels around doing their art where it can fetch a dime, and has probably recently arrived at the city and is looking for people to tat up. I think I covered everything.
Beautiful. I love it. And tattooing is a wonderful art to be pursuing, both in Scarred Lands in general, because there are a lot of cultures in Scarred Lands that use tattoos not only for cultural reasons, but also just as magic items. But Shelzar in particular is one of the sort of considered to be one of the hotbeds of tattoo art. Some of the most famous artists in all the Scarred Lands have shops here. So it's a great place to study. Next up, we have Milena. Please, Milena, give us who you are, your pronouns, who you're playing, their pronouns, name, race, class, a little bit about who they are, and describe them for us, please.
Cool. Hi, guys. I'm Milena. She, her. In real life, I'm a comic book artist, illustrator, YouTuber. And I'm playing Olland, who is a blacksmith ironbred. Which an ironbred is like a person, is like a minotaur, but a horse. So I have like a horse head and then like a human torso and then horse legs, but not like a centaur that has the front legs, just the back legs of a horse. So I'm roughly like 6 feet tall. And like massively strong. Like this is what I wanted this character to be. And Olland doesn't give a shit about anybody else because nobody else ever gave a shit about her. So this is it. This is what's gonna happen this time. So I'm excited to play Olland.
Excited to see how she turns out. This is going to be very fun and very different from the character you played in Extreme Dravis, I would say. Next up, we have Allie. Please let us know your name, pronouns, who you're playing, their pronouns, race, class, and description.
So I'm Allie DeVries. My pronouns are she, her. I'm playing Lulu. She is a barbarian orc, and she is 7 feet tall, 300 pounds, 27 years old, and she kind of has a duality to her character because she wants to live life to the fullest and is kind of impulsive, but then she had her tribe destroyed, so she watches over her friends like they're newborn baby puppies.
I love it. Beautiful. And how does she dress normally? What kind of clothing does she wear?
Just like light armors.
Okay,
And she also has a donkey, and the donkey's name is Hope.
That's adorable. I love it. I look forward to. I'm sure nothing bad will happen to Hope ever. And next up, we have Rachel. Please tell us who you are, your pronouns, who you're playing, their pronouns, race, class, description, and a little bit about who they are.
Hey, so my name is Rachel, and I'm playing the Slytherin, so a rat person named Ithrin. Both me and Ithrin use she, her pronouns. Ithrin is a druid. She grew up in tunnels, very, very impoverished until she robbed the wrong person, right person. Either way, she had to get out of town, like now. And so that is how she found herself in this strange, kind of scary, kind of intimidating new city. She is definitely looking for friends. I sort of plan to play her like, like if you've had a pet rat, they're super social and playful, and they're here for you.
Beautiful. I love it. And what's her standard style of dress?
Oh, well, she's a druid, so she probably has like leaves in her fur. Doesn't like wearing metal. Probably prefers, ethically sourced leather.
I love it. And just for clarification, in the Scarred Lands, all druids worship one of the Titans, but most of the Titans obviously were not friendly to the gods and are considered very evil by the people of Scarred Lands. But there is one Titan named Deneno who turned her back on the Titans very early in the war and joined the side of the gods. And druids of Deneno, or at least druids who put out the impression that they worship Deneno, are the only ones that are really widely accepted in other cultures. So does Ithrim worship Deneno,
yes.
or at least put forth the impression that she does?
She is a worshiper of Deneno, and sort of feels like her faith gives her a purpose.
I love it.
I don't anticipate her having a crisis of faith like Ravenna did.
Well, you never know. We'll see. It'll be fun to explore.
Yeah, Travis, we'll see.
Next up, we have Mike. Mike, tell us who you are, your pronouns, who you're playing, their pronouns, race, class, description, and a couple of facts about who they are.
Hi, I'm Mike Mutant. Like Milena, I'm also a comic book artist. Actually just went full freelance recently. Thanks. And I'm playing Haiku Blackbard, who is also a tiefling like Tori's character.
Oh, gasp.
And he is a warlock, an undying warlock. He's about 6 feet tall, real like string beanie. He's like 140, maybe real skinny. He looks like if Pete Davidson was a tiefling. Like he's kind of like sick looking,
That's awesome.
Kind of like attractive looking, I guess. Like it's like he's got that weird balance. He's got this like sickly green like skin color, black hair. He's got like leathery armor, but he's also got like bandages covering like old like scars like on his like arms and like random places in his body. The whole looks kind of like evocative of like Egyptian mummy kind of like themes to go along with the undying like tiefling. As far as like personality, I think the best way to describe it is like the choices I've made on D&D Beyond, which are, I think anyone who's nice to me is hiding evil intent. I hide scraps of food and trinkets away in my pockets. The rich need to be shown what life and death are like in the gutters. I owe a debt I can never repay to a person who took pity on me. And it's not stealing if I need it more than someone else. Yeah, I'm a former conscript, current tunnel dweller. Basically someone who was like forced or like slave. Was like a slave to like war. Like I was forced to fight in war. And now I hide in tunnels to hide away from people and just kind of be by myself.
I love it. Beautiful.
I think we found Lulu's first puppy.
Quite possibly. And
he definitely needs nurturing. He definitely got problems.
Well, good. I love to see a group of well-adjusted adventurers coming together. And then last, but of course not least, we have Raz. Raz, tell us who you are, pronouns, who you're playing, pronouns, race, class, and a little bit about them and their description, please.
Okay, well, I'm Roz, she, her, and I'm in the Air Force. Not an artist, this is what I do. And I'm playing Breck, who, him. He is a Hollow Legionnaire, which I'm really excited to play. So he's basically like a ghost tied to armor. So like a not sad version of Full Metal Alchemist, hopefully. We'll see. So I am a blue 6.5 foot tall guy who weighs probably just as much as the armor. I'm a wizard. I don't need to sleep or eat. So after I died at some point, don't really remember that part, but have lots of really super cool memories before that though. And in the spire that I lived in, because we all kind of generate out of these regions, I just got real bored and just, let's just pick up magic. And so now I'm a wizard wandering around who is very prideful, very justice-y, very, doesn't like to see people suffering if there's something that he can do about it. And we'll see how society, enjoys that.
And what kind of armor does he wear? What kind of armor is he bound into?
So it's not expensive armor at this point, but it's metally, kind of the leftovers, lots of scrapes and smudges, but like all the metals.
Gotcha. Okay. Beautiful. I love it.
Maybe a light cape.
I love it. And so that is our cast. And I look forward to seeing how this bunch has come together. So we are going to get into a little bit of like, how do you know one another? Where do you think we might have met? Because once we get into the adventuring, I'd like the idea of you being somewhat established, at least with some knowledge of one another. But before we get into that, one thing I do want to cover, just for our own edification and for the audience at home to be aware of, real quick, touching base on safety tools, because I think they're important. I always use the X card, so if there's any sort of content that you feel is problematic for you, that you don't want to deal with, that you'd like to not focus on, you can just shoot me X in the Zoom chat, or just say X, or just make an X with your arms, and we'll pause the scene and draw the curtain on that and move along to something else. Part of the reason why I am especially calling that out is because we are obviously this game is taking place in Shelzar. There's all sorts of things that are happening in Shelzar that some people might not be comfortable with. So, I don't expect that we will get into any horrendously graphic depictions of any of that stuff. Obviously nothing that violates the Twitch terms of service, but we can always, I just want you to know that you have control as players to pump the brakes on any scene that you want to. Does that sound fair and fun to everybody?
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions about how that
Yes.
works? All right, cool.
Nope.
All right, rock and roll. So, drawing our attention specifically to Shelzar, we're going to go over to Astral Tabletop over here, which is not only a sponsor of the shows on this channel, but they're also giving away their pro packages for free right now. So while everybody is sort of chilling in isolation, if you want to play tabletop games online with your friends, you can go to astraltabletop.com, create an account for free, and you get all the pro tools. They're doing that, I think, through the end of the month to give people something to do while they're waiting for the horrible plague to pass. So check that out.
That is really nice.
It's pretty sweet. So if you see on the map, you'll see that right now there's this sort of general idea of the Shelzar region, and we're going to get into the overall neighborhood that you're staying in, but the maze itself. But I'd like to draw our attention to the hood, and I think as players, as a group, maybe we should come up with like what the hood is called. But this is going to be the neighborhood where you all reside. Now, I know a couple of you have purchased some lifestyles. So let's touch base on that real quick. Did anybody buy anything above like a poor lifestyle?
I'm not poor. I'm like just above.
I forgot to go back.
Yeah,
From
I'm
what
a
I
drifter.
remember, I'm like
I seem to remember that I had done that I had purchased kind of like some. I'm trying to find where we noted that. Where would that be? In the character?
Check it out on D&D Beyond. If you go into your character builder, it should be listed under your the same area as your background. And if you haven't purchased one, you're welcome to do so. On the D&D Beyond sheet itself, let me look and see.
did I end up buying my nondescript white wagon?
I believe it would be in your equipment if you had.
It's under character details in the editor.
Okay.
I can't remember. Let me see.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna go modest.
Sorry, I just vaped without muting. I feel like a total asshole now. And that probably sounds weird to everybody in chat. All right.
My character's a total bum, so she's got nothing.
Beautiful.
He's a drifter.
I think I was also like poor. I can't remember exactly what kind I was.
Well, for those of you who have a modest or higher lifestyle, you can live in this building that I'm thinking right here. This is the nicest building in the hood. So if you want to take your token and drag it over to your house, you can do that. The rest of you will live in the various other sort of rundown hovels that are in this neighborhood. And so this is just a residential neighborhood in the maze.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Since I am a tunnel dweller, is it possible to somehow live underground?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There is a sewer system throughout all of Shelzar, so you could certainly live in the sewers and have your den near the hood here. That is totally fine.
I feel like I would
Also,
probably find a not smelly corner. Like, maybe like, oh, I can block up this flow right here and divert it down there, and I live here now.
oh, I'm in the smelly corner though. I'm definitely in the smelly corner.
That's
I
the wall that
probably
divides.
diverted diverted it away from my place to yours.
Definitely.
That's the wall
Got
that
the worst
divides.
neighbors.
Now, this building over here is kind of the you're not on the streets, but you have a lifestyle that's at the poor end, and then if you're a squatter, there's this little building right down here that's full of squatters. So feel free to place your tokens where they belong. Now, the general conceit being that you've all wound up in this neighborhood through various circumstances. You've been in Shelzar probably at least a few weeks. If anybody wants to, I know at least one of you has grown up here, which is fine. You've been in this neighborhood at least a few weeks, long enough to sort of meet your neighbors, long enough to get your bases established, and long enough to get a basic lay of the land. This neighborhood in and of itself is sort of like dead center of the maze. So there's a lot of activity around here. The immediate area is all residential, but you can find restaurants, gambling dens, brothels, drug dens, tattoo parlors, pretty much anything you might imagine. And within probably, a 20 minute, half hour walk. Does anybody have any questions so far? Any comments, complaints, or concerns, issues?
I have a question. Since I'm a smith, I can work from home, right? I don't have to have a workshop, or do I have to have a workshop?
You have Smith's tools, correct?
Yes.
That basically is a workshop. So, and what was your lifestyle again?
Drifter.
Okay. Your lifestyle was, let's see here real quick. Look up your character.
Yeah, where does it say lifestyle?
So if you go into your character editor and you go into description, it should be down in character details. Yeah, so you have a comfortable lifestyle that you've purchased for Holland, so you can afford a shop. So I'm going to go ahead and drag you over here, and that building is going to be your home and your smith shop.
Sweet. Check me out.
Yeah, I was poor. I was right. Okay.
Does anyone else have any like a trade that they're practicing? I know that Charlene does tattooing, right?
I'm also a tattooist.
Okay.
Well,
I feel like if Ren sort of takes whatever small jobs she can find, probably sells her spellcasting ability. I did pick up a couple Cure Wounds spells. She has the Tunnel Dweller feat or background, so she probably also worked as a guide, like, come on here. I feel like she's probably you know how in like mafia movies someone gets hurt and they take him to a veterinarian?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like that's what she's doing right now.
Okay, that's fair. I love it.
And she's Saul.
I'm sorry?
She's Saul.
Saul from Better Call Saul.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Everyone was talking at the same time.
Oh, Better Call Saul was the reference.
Oh, yes, that was my inspiration.
Cool, great, love it. So let's set you up then. We'll say you have a shop right here next door. Or no, you said you were living in the sewer, so you're probably just like crawling up and meeting with them. There are plenty of shady folks.
Yeah, whatever abandoned warehouse I need to go sew someone up in.
Right. What method would people get a hold of you by?
So I feel like she's probably really social.
Okay.
And so she doesn't actually spend a lot of time at home. She probably has a favorite tavern or two, so people know, like, oh, if you need to get a hold of the rat druid, send a messenger here.
Beautiful. I love it. Excellent. And so we had talked about Charlung and Breck, both are tattoo artists, correct? All right.
Yep.
So how do you feel about the idea of being in business together to run a shop, at least for the moment?
Sure.
That's cool.
I mean, we could have met up here both studying, or maybe we're both apprenticing at the same shop.
Yeah, that would be
Something like
fine.
that.
All right, so let's turn this building right here into a tattoo shop. And I will hop both of you over there.
We're like trading Hollow Legionnaire lore for orc lore.
Yeah, talking about your various backgrounds and histories. I love it. Now, we've got two living in the sewer. Now, Charlie, you've got... you picked up a poor lifestyle, or was it a comfortable lifestyle? Is that what you bought?
Me? Modest.
All right, yeah, so that should be fine for that place. Now, I assume as a bard, you're probably doing some performing at the inns, taverns, gambling houses that will have you.
Word.
All right. And your favorite instrument is what? Dulcimer, right?
It's the dulcimer.
Sweet. Cool. All right. So yeah, you're probably playing many of the same bars where Ithrin sort of frequents. Might even be how you got a beat on there being a fairly nice place open in this neighborhood. Does that sound somewhat fair?
I'm down.
I like it.
Cool. All right. So that takes care of how a few of us know one another. So, Holland, how did you wind up in this neighborhood?
I think it just seemed not shitty enough for me to stay for a while. Like, whatever.
Like everybody,
it's just that place.
Everybody was not in your way enough that you seemed like I can lay my head here for a while.
Yeah, it was just like I walked into town and everything just was like, cool. Nobody's giving me shit. I'm not giving shit to anybody. Selling some armor. Cool. I'll just hang out, make some money.
Okay, cool. So yeah, and you've got the smithy that you've opened up. That's working. All right, Lulu, what would you say would have brought you to this neighborhood? What sort of trade is it that you're doing?
I am a wanderer, I believe.
Okay, so you've just kind of been walking around, and you said you're a fighter, right?
I am a barbarian. Yeah.
Barbarian. Okay. Your tribe, I believe, as we discussed during your session 0, your tribe was from somewhere in this region, correct? Not too far from Shelzar, so you're somewhat familiar with the place.
Yes.
You would be aware that you can make a pretty decent living in the underground pit fighting scene in Shelzar.
Okay.
There are fights that are basically the equivalent of like bare knuckle boxing. All pit fighting is illegal, but there are fights that are basically like bare knuckle boxing, and then there's fights that are like to the death. What sort of a ring do you think you would prefer to be working in?
I think since I'm chaotic good, I would probably have to go with I'm not trying to kill people.
All right, cool. So
Like boxing.
you're in one of the sort of bare knuckle boxing rings. Okay, that's excellent. And that will afford you a place in the let's see. Were you able to bring up what your lifestyle was?
I don't have anything in lifestyle.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, you're in the squat right now, hoping to make some money.
Okay.
Basically, just looked for a place that you could pass out without getting in any trouble. And Haiku, you are living in the sewers as well, right?
Yeah. Yep.
That leaves us 10. Now, 10, you are living in the home that you've shared with your father figure, right, with Jadoba?
I didn't know if we had a home, but sure, I wouldn't mind having a home.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, you have a dwelling. It's this little building down here, and
I wasn't looking.
I've moved you to it. So
Oh,
that domicile right there was actually not only Tadoba, but the 4 other monks of his order that he lived with. Lived, trained, worked there. And they have all left recently. About 2 weeks ago, they received a communication from the librarian at Lokiel, requesting immediate aid for an emergency that Tadoba did not explain to you what it was. He just basically said that he needed to go, that he had been called upon by a dear friend who he owed a number of favors to. And not to worry, he would return soon.
can you say where he left to again? The libraries of what?
Library of Lokiel, Lokil.
Cool.
And
I
so,
mostly didn't go because I was in one of my moods.
and the person who specifically had requested his presence was a man by the name of Nebega, Nebega.
Gotcha.
And are you proficient in history?
Let me see. What does proficient in history mean?
You look at your character sheet, does it have the little black dot next to the history skill?
It does.
Okay, so you're aware that Lokiel is probably about 400-ish miles to the northwest of Shelzar. And it requires not only crossing the sweltering plains, which is the sort of deserty immediate region that Shelzar sits in, but also requires either going around or through a region of Gelspad known as the Festering Fields. And the Festering Fields is an area that is lots of people have different theories as to why, but it is effectively poisoned with undead energy. So there are constantly corpses rising from the grave there. There are storms of necrotic energy. Very dangerous, unpleasant place that people do their best to avoid. So Tsudoba would either have to go through it or spend weeks going around it to get to Lokiel.
Excellent.
So is there anyone who I haven't covered as to why you're in the neighborhood?
I just live in the sewer, but, but I don't know. I think to get by just like I'm kind of like a raccoon. I think I just kind of like digging people's trash and like see what I can like scrape around. You know.
Sure.
I feel like
I'm robbing people.
I feel like as rodents, we should know each other and be friends.
Maybe that's our connection. Yeah, we like cross paths in the tunnels.
Yeah, we're neighbors.
I'm aware of you, and I'm like, I'm just gonna stay away because I just like trying to avoid people.
I mean, and I'm probably the really annoying neighbor who's like, hey, if you ever need anything, I'm just like right over there.
And I'm just like, yeah, okay, and I just like run away and like eating scraps that I just find of like chicken wings and whatever.
I love it. All right, cool. So, we have, everyone has kind of, is there anyone that doesn't have any connection whatsoever to the neighborhood at this point? Did I get everyone? I just want to make sure that I'm not missing any beats. Okay. So, now that we've got all that handled, where you live, how you are vaguely connected with one another, let's talk a little bit, just real quick before we delve too deeply, about general expectations. So what kind of content would you either A, really like to see, or B, really like to, opening a window right in front of you guys, sorry, really like to avoid? Is there anything that anyone has very specifically in mind about the type of adventures you'd like to have, the type of things you'd like to do, above and beyond what your basic characters have established for us? Because we know what everybody's doing for a living, we know what classes you're playing, but is there anyone that's like, I really want to do dungeon crawls, or I really don't want to do dungeon crawls? Now is your time to sort of voice those opinions, and we'll go backwards. Do you have anything in particular, Roz?
I love your story development.
Okay.
I love that. I love the, oh crap, we said that like 5 months ago. Oh, I came back and bit us in the ass. Like, I like that stuff.
All right, cool.
Fun toys. Those.
All right, I will make a note of story development and fun toys.
Yep.
All right, next up, Mike, anything in particular that you're either looking to have or looking to avoid?
Not necessarily. I would just like to play around with the characters. Like, I want them to like change for better or for worse. You know, maybe, I don't know. I just want to have like a fun like relationship with everyone, like whether it's like positive or negative, independent, group wise, whatever it is.
Sweet. Cool. Rachel.
Yeah, I'd say I've been in a lot of D&D games, and they've all just sort of like leaned into the, well, we sort of like, oh, that's the D&D setting. I would really like a chance to delve into what makes Scarred Lands different. Like, let's go into the cool, unique parts of the setting, because like when I was making my character, I was like, oh, what other game lets me play a rat person? I'm going to play a rat person. That sounds great. Yeah, and so I'd really like to, the Titans and the mythology and all that fun stuff. That's what I want.
That'd be fun.
Cool. We can make that work, I'm sure. All right. Anything for Lulu, for Allie? Anything you particularly do or do not want to see?
I like fighting and I hate shopping.
You like fighting, you hate what?
Shopping.
We'll have all your toys then.
Excellent.
Man.
More fighting. shopping off camera.
Can we curse in this, by the way?
Oh, fuck yes. Yeah, please.
Okay.
Yeah, we do.
Haiku is going to be a potty mouth. So
We do have the adult filter on Twitch. We just obviously there's still things we can't get away with, but cursing is not one of those.
Okay, for sure. So I
right.
want Haiku to embody like Staten Island trash. So
I love it. All right, so Aland, anything in particular you'd like to see or avoid?
I am really looking forward to crushing a foe with my giant ass hammer. Like, that is my top one priority, is to just do cool freaking damage attacks. And I want somebody's head to explode. Do you hear me, Travis? I want to crush someone like if I was the Mountain in Game of Thrones.
oh, sick.
I'm sure you'll have the opportunity to do that. So
That's all I
appreciate
want. Less.
Oh, thank you. All right.
Let's roll.
Charlung, anything in particular you'd like to see or avoid?
So I'm really into what Rachel mentioned, the like getting more into the depths of Scarred Lands. Like, it's not a setting that I've spent much time in, and I really kind of appreciate everything I've ever read or listened to about it. But I'd love to learn more of the history, and it's kind of, I think, awesome to learn it from the perspective of a character, and a character who is like a storyteller through art. So I think it'll be pretty cool to do some of that.
Dope.
That said, I also want to like smash somebody's head with a great axe.
All right. I'm seeing a running theme here.
Yeah.
We're murder
Head
hobos.
smashing.
All right. We can definitely work in some head smashes. Tan, what would you like to see and what would you like to not see?
I'm excited to just be a character that is just really I can't control even. I'm excited.
Right.
I want to make sure that I continue to play my character correctly and then get to see her react with all these amazing characters, because I think it'll be great. Just
Beautiful.
Want peace and love, guys.
That will be easy for me to do, but I will make a note to myself to stay on top of Tan's particular issues. All right. And then Charlie, anything in particular that you would like to see or not see?
I just want to make some bomb-ass tunes.
I love it. And
Drop some bangers.
I think you got away with not describing physically your character earlier. Could you give us a quick description so that Milena can reference it later?
I suppose I could do that. She's basically like an orange tabby, but and orange tabbies, for reference, are typically male, but she's not, and so I think I'm going to make people not assume she's female usually. So
That's amazing.
Explain to them that they can't make assumptions about her just because she's an orange tabby.
I love it. So does she look somewhat masculine then? Does she have some somewhat masculine features?
I think she's probably more just really non-gendered in general. And so because that's the one feature that one would connect to a gender, people assume.
Sick.
And just a piece of lore, and this might come in interesting with costuming. Manticora, one of the ways that their genders are expressed physically is that male Manticora tend to have manes, whereas female Manticora tend to have like more humanoid hair. So if she wears like a hood all the time, that could really steer into that. You know what I mean? Because then people can't tell if she's got a mane or if she's got hair.
I think that would work really well. Also, in like actual cats that have manes, females grow manes as frequently as males do in some areas because of all of the other crap that goes on as far as how that affects things. So it is possible for a female to have a mane.
I mean, that could be cool too. If you want to go that route, you're more than welcome to. I have no objection to that whatsoever. So just let Milena know if you have a mane or if you wear a hood or how your head rocks. And you don't have
Let
to
me bake on that.
I was gonna say you don't have to make that decision right this second, but if Charlong, if you need to give some description.
Yeah, I was just realizing that I kind of cut some of that shorter than I had wanted to. I had more ideas to put out there for that. But so character is sorcerers and has a like the flaw, the bane of luminance. So there's like basically every time he casts a spell, like a watery light like appears surrounding his body. Like it's just like built-in feature of spell casting for him. And it kind of like glows through the ink of his tattoos as well. Is one of the things that I want to do.
Cool.
So it's kind of like, I don't know, a little Tron-esque, but like with like an orc green, dark green skin, you know?
Oh, that sounds
really
sick.
cool. That's sick.
That is dope. And that reminds me of a two-pronged thing that I wanted to share with everybody. In Scarred Lands, there's this effect called Mesos' Bane. And Mesos was the sire of sorcery, the titan who invented magic. And so when... hold on one second. I have to nuke a bot. Sorry about that. So, when you cast arcane magic, there are side effects that go along with that, and it's referred to as Mesos' Bane. And they're personal to each caster. The common wisdom is that it's Mesos trying to... Because when Mesos was killed, his body was ripped to pieces, and his essence was spread out across the cosmos. So people think that he's trying to use magic to pull himself back together. And so for some spellcasters, there will be like extra heat generated by their spells. Others will have like a glow. Some will have like an electrical charge that will happen. And so if you're an arcane spellcaster, meaning if you are a warlock, if you are a wizard, if you are a sorcerer, if you are a bard, you will have some sort of Mesos Bane effect whenever you cast a spell of first level or higher. You can sort of determine what that is narratively. They don't generally cause any system effect. So they don't like deal damage. They don't, they're not enough to like distract an opponent. But it can be kind of anything that you would describe under the thaumaturgy spell or the prestidigitation spell. And you can have that as just kind of a side effect that goes along with your spells. And it can be something very thematic where it's the same thing every time, or it can be kind of a random, series of effects. Like all of mine come with light, but it's different every time. And so I'm making you aware of that, but I'm also asking those of you who are playing arcane casters to try your best to incorporate that into your spell casting. Okay, so make sure that when you're casting a spell, you're talking about how the Bane is manifesting. The other spell casting point that I would like to just bring up to keep in mind is I'm going to try my best, and I'm going to ask all of the players to try their best to focus on something that we did not focus on at all in Extreme Drowis, which is spell components. I would like to try to focus on those a little bit more. So I think, in the case of the Bard, your music's obviously replacing a lot of your components. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, Ithrin, you had a wand that you had picked up, right? Like a U wand that you were using, or a staff, perhaps? Am I remembering that right?
Yes. I ended up with a golf bag of weapons.
And there's... Yeah, so when you're casting, making sure that you're, describing using your focus wand, things like that. Because I really want to pay attention to those
I
things.
don't have a wand. I do have a quarterstaff.
That's right.
Yeah, which I feel would be her focus. And I just checked all my spells, and all their components right now are verbal and somatic. Oh,
Sweet.
no, I need a living flea to cast Infestation. That'll be fun.
Well, or you can use your staff. Just make sure that
Yeah.
we're keeping those descriptions in mind to keep it narrative. Any questions or concerns or complaints about that from anyone?
So how will I
Cool.
how would I find them? Do I just come across them as we go along the campaign? Because Witch Bolt says it needs a twig from a tree that has been struck by lightning.
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways to go about it. One way is, you can usually go to a magic shop and purchase spell components.
Okay.
The other would be, especially if you're out in the wilderness, this campaign's not starting in the wilderness and probably won't see wilderness for some time. But if you're out in the wilderness, you can go foraging for spell components. Also, if you have an arcane focus, I believe you have an orb, don't you?
I have a wand.
Yeah, so any time that you have an arcane focus, you can use that in place of a material component unless it states in the spell that material component is consumed by casting it. So
Gotcha.
if you have Raise Dead, for example, it takes a diamond, and the diamond's consumed when you do it. So you have to buy a new diamond every time.
Makes sense. Okay.
So if the material component's not consumed, you get to just use your arcane focus instead.
Okay.
Did you have a question, Milena?
No, this is going to be really different. I'm glad I don't have any spells.
I'm like, I don't know what he's talking about. I'm just gonna be hitting people with martial arts.
Can be throwing hands.
Well, describe that too. So the other thing that we're going to dive into a bit here, and this is many thanks to Sarah and Fran Stewart, who are the authors of the Scarlands novel Vigilant Through Shadows and Dreams, which is up on drive-thru. But
Wait,
they
this Sarah, like the Sarah that we play with right now?
no, Sarah Stewart and her
my
wife
gosh, I was
Fran
like,
Stewart. No, they also created for us, for everyone's use. You can buy it at the Sluritian Vault, a Scarlands calendar, which we will be using to track time and various festivals, things along those lines. So we are setting the game. You may want to make a note of this. The game is beginning in the month of Tanit, T-A-N-O-T. On the 13th day, which is a wild day. Well, it'll actually be starting the morning of the 14th, so Char Day. And I will get a copy of these calendars for the folks in the game. So starting on the 14th, it is the day after the Carnival of Flowers / Spring Equinox. So the Carnival of Flowers throughout all of Scarlands is a party. In Shelzar, it's like Mardi Gras on crack. And so the party is very likely still going on in most neighborhoods on the following day and well throughout the rest of the week. During the Carnival of Flowers, there's often people are openly fornicating in the streets. There's just rabid debauchery everywhere. Drug use is even more common. A lot of people will take hallucinogens during the Carnival of Flowers to connect more with the divinity. And there are a number of rumors that fly around that some gods even manifest in physical form, particularly the god Enkili, who is the basically the trickster of the pantheon They're storm and sea god, and they are a agendered god of trickery and practical jokes and chaos. It's rumored that Ankili shows up and sort of wanders and joins in the revels. Any questions, comments, complaints, or concerns about that section?
How do you spell his name?
They use a they them, and it's
Their name, sorry.
Enkili.
That was actually like my main pantheon faith too. So good times for me, it sounds like.
Yes, and just to give you a little background on the city itself, like most of the Scarred Lands, there are temples to all of the 8 victors, the main gods of the pantheon, as well as temples to many of the demigods throughout Shelzar. However, the most commonly worshipped gods in Shelzar are Ankili and Manaway, who is like the goddess of the oceans. And there is some, for lack of a better word, rivalry between the churches of Manaway and Ankili. And Manaway is spelled Manawe. Those are by far the most worshipped deities in the city. There is, incidentally enough, fun fact, a sort of a chapter house that's filled with paladins of Corian, who's like the super holy roller paladin god. The kind of what you'd expect, clean armor and smile and their teeth like sparkle, type of and they have a very, very high turnover rate at that particular chapter house because the paladins have a very hard time sticking to their oaths while living in Shelzar. And it is a common habit of some of the sex workers and the drug peddlers to do their best to interfere with the chastity of the Corianic faith. Did you find whatever you dropped over there?
I didn't drop anything. Dreamer jumped on my headphone cord, ripped it out of my head, it pulled me over to the side, and pulled my muscles.
Oh, well, don't die. I'm sorry that our cat's a jerk.
I'm gonna light her ass on fire.
We'll probably don't do that till we're off stream because that'll get us TOS'd for sure. All right. So I think that's pretty much what we need in terms of setting the stage. It's been a big, long night of partying. It's been a big, long night of partying for a couple days leading up to it. So what would Breck be doing during this sort of crazy festival, the Carnival of Flowers?
Well, I feel like my partner, Sherlung, said it well about bitches love tattoos. So we're probably busy.
Okay, cool. So sticking close to the shop, providing...
Lots of debauchery. But still, working.
Right on. So maybe trying to lure people into the shop, or just sort of like how are you combining your debauchery with your tattooing?
Well, I would like to see what my partner feels like, because if we're doing it together, I'm interested in what the dynamic would be. Are you interested in the debauchery as well?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's
okay, good.
It's in Keely's party. So right. I'm imagining that it probably has something to do with the fact that like we're tattoo artists, we're working, and so like I imagine there's a bar nearby, you know, in between. If there's no one over there, we're just gonna go talk about how we're tattoo artists and we're set up. And like there's a bunch of drunk people, they're gonna want tattoos, right? Like, I mean,
Oh yeah.
so that's my goal.
Like
Let's make some
flash
money
art
today.
for mead. You bring
Yep.
the mead, I'll give you a little pick. Let's go.
Okay, so you're sort of like, if you hit a lull in business, you're sort of trolling the nearest pub, looking for marks, people that might, want to wake up the next morning and be like, "Who's Rhonda?" Yeah,
There's
cool. I dig it. And what is Haiku doing during this time?
I think he's taking advantage of all the chaos and everyone like inebriated to like, like steal, pickpocket, take some food and stuff like that. Just using it to his advantage to survive longer.
I love it. Lots of easy marks during this time. However, you bring up an excellent point that I would like to mention to you about the city. A couple things. The law. As we've discussed, public drunkenness is illegal. Being under the influence of other chemicals, generally not considered to be frowned upon. You just have to be very sure that it's clear that you're not drunk. Stealing, the first offense usually is a fine unless it's a large amount or it's something that's affecting someone's livelihood, in which case you'll get your hand cut off.
Oof.
Murder comes along with hard labor, any sort of violation of consent involves having whatever you use to violate that consent cut off.
Nice.
Yeah, and so there are very few laws, but the penalties for breaking them are generally very harsh. They involve labor. They involve dismemberment.
Okay.
Also, all weapons besides one dagger that you carry in the city have to be peace-bound. If any of you don't know what peace binding is, I didn't before I started working on this setting. I basically take a copper wire with like a wax seal and wrap your weapon in its sheath, and then seal it with wax so that if you draw it, it breaks the peace bind, so somebody knew you drew your weapon. Having a peace-bound weapon, having a weapon that's not peace-bound carries a 500 gold piece fine, and if you're caught using that weapon, then you're in for shit. But everybody gets to carry one dagger that's not peace-bound, and if you stab someone with a dagger in self-defense, it's totally fine. Any questions about that? That, by the way, does not mean that pickpocketing doesn't happen like a lot, for example. Just that, don't get caught.
So in my case, I have like a sickle and a hammer. So is that like just out in the open, but it's peace bound? Is that right?
Yeah. So generally speaking, if you're carrying that with you, it would have to be peace bound, or you'll have to conceal it. If you have those stashed in your place, it doesn't matter. But if you're on the street with them, they need to be peace bound.
Gotcha. Okay.
And you can go to any guard station at the border of the city and get your weapons peace bound.
So if I break it, I can just go back and get it fixed without having any problems, right?
If you show up with a broken peace binding, you'd have a problem. But if you there's a couple ways you can go around it. One way is if you could sneak out of the city and sneak back in, you can get it redone. Another way would be there are some less than scrupulous vendors in town that will either re-peace bind a weapon for you. And there's one blacksmith in particular who makes a very good living selling trick peace bindings for 50 gold pieces each that allow you to draw the weapon but look like it's not broken.
Okay, sweet. Okay.
So, and that's a kind of an open secret. People know where to find that if that's something you'd be looking for down the road. But in
Okay.
the interim, though, you're just kind of picking pockets and getting a few bucks, right? Getting
Yeah,
food
just a
and
couple coins here and there from everybody.
Excellent. Ithrin, what are you doing during the festival?
So, Ithrin probably threw herself just like wholeheartedly, like, let's go. So, as dawn rises on the morning of the 14th, she's probably just in like this big cuddle pile of a whole bunch of people who just sort of passed out where they were dancing.
Excellent. So, morning cuddle puddle. I'll get back to that momentarily. That's interesting.
Yeah, and, I mean, y'all are totally welcome to join me in that cuddle puddle.
And Lulu, where would you be?
I would probably be walking home with Hope and all my stuff in my wagon, counting my money that I earned from the fights, because I'm sure there were probably a good amount of fights happening at this festival and probably making a lot of money.
Absolutely. So you were working the night of.
Yes.
Excellent. Aland.
I think as the sun rises, I feel like Holland rises with the sun, so I'm already out there hammering on something, making some armor plates. I feel very passionate about the craft, and I like to make it all look very ornate and like pretty. So I would be focusing on that and not taking any part of any partying or any of that bullshit. Like, who are these fucking people?
Right. So you're probably
I'm thinking
like
about moving.
sleeping like with like rags stuffed in your ears, kind of thing. Like, get off
and
my lawn.
like this is why I don't do big towns.
I love it. Beautiful. Charlene, we've got you kind of covered. So, Tan, what would you be doing during this festival?
Obvious. Well, first off, I have to ask you, which, like, was I possessed during this festival?
Why don't you go ahead and make the first die roll of the game? Why don't you roll your D8 and you tell me who is in charge during the festival?
Ooh, shit. I don't think this is a good one. I got a 7, so that's slop. So I was not a part of the festival.
Excellent.
But just out of like, I feel like content, like out of like wanting to do things, I feel like this day I did not get possessed. So during the festival, I had sloth. But
Okay.
like this day, I feel like
We'll check again when you wake up.
Oh, okay, then never mind. You're right. I can't control it.
Okay, so the day of the festival, you pretty much hung around the empty monastery, maybe with like a bag of like pork rinds, probably something that's just like small, easy, maybe some jerky, and just kind of sat in the window and just kind of people watched, probably, right? Does that sound about fair? Like,
I don't think I think I just literally was just like, I'm not about it. Like, I don't eat a lot of food. I'm poor as F, so like it's not like I was just like, the loud noises are tiring.
Love it. Beautiful. Perfect. Excellent. And then lastly, Charlie, what will you be doing the night of the festival in the morning, leading into the morning?
Finding places to play and playing to make as much money as I can.
Cool. All right. Well, seeing that there are a lot of people that are sort of bringing crowds with them back toward the tattoo parlor, right? As Charlung and Breck are out sort of trying to herd folks over. You can kind of set up basically right on the stoop and just throw a hat out and play without having to go track down a gig if you so choose.
That's fine.
Okay. Or if you'd rather, you can go to a tavern. It's up to you.
I don't know that it would make any difference, so I guess whichever would be easier.
Okay. So here's what we'll do. Let's go ahead and get a couple more die rolls in, if you don't mind. I would like a sleight of hand check from Haiku, please.
Oh boy. Here we go. That's a 5.
And don't forget to add your sleight of hand total.
That's a 0 on the sleight of hand, so that's just a straight 5.
Okay. As you're making your way through the party and sort of bumping into people left and right and sort of grabbing, you almost get caught the first 3 or 4 times. Oof. And you have the good sense to sort of wait until people get good and inebriated. What's your passive perception score?
Passive perception 12. No, wait, no, 11.
Excellent. Okay. You start mingling, making your way around. The streets are pretty crowded, and people are very distracted. So I'm going to let you go ahead and make another sleight of hand check for me. This time you may have advantage, which allows you to roll 2 20-sided dice and take the higher of the 2 results.
All right. First roll is a 13. Second roll is a 15.
Excellent. You do manage to pick a few pockets. In the process of doing so, you wind up with 5 gold pieces in various assorted silver and copper coins. Go ahead and mark that down. But you also notice yourself get noticed. You notice there's a woman, human, black hair, probably about like shoulder length, cut with the back is a little bit higher and it sort of forks down into 2 points right here.
She is there to see.
And she, you also notice she has a Ouroboros tattoo on her neck. Right here. Snake eating its own tail. And you notice her sort of take notice of you as you're picking the last pocket. And she just smiles and winks at you. And kind of goes back into the crowd a little bit. And why don't you go ahead and give me a perception check if you don't mind.
That's a 19.
Couple more points throughout the night as you're kind of making your way through the crowds and looking for more marks. You see this woman kind of eyeballing you again, popping up, over the course of several different blocks over the course of probably about 3 hours. You get the distinct impression she is following you.
I start sweating nervously and start trying to dodge her. Like I'm running around, trying to like duck behind corners of like buildings, any people.
Go ahead and give me a stealth check if you don't mind.
Let's see. That's a 6.
All right. You're pretty sure you've lost her. She doesn't seem to be following you anymore, and you are able to make your way back to the hood relatively easily as the sun is cresting. The very first signs of light are showing up. Let's cut over to Charlie real quick. Charlie, you're performing on the street there. Why don't you go ahead and give me a performance check? And are you doing anything to enhance it, or are you just using your musical instruments?
Just being awesome.
Drop that beat.
You said performance, right? That'll be a 17.
Excellent. You are able to get quite a bit of notice. Couple of the people that are coming into and out of the tattoo shop are stopping for the duration of a song or two. The monk, despite sort of just kind of laying around, not feeling particularly motivated, is still tapping her toe a little bit at the music that's wafting through the neighborhood. Yeah. Even the cranky blacksmith, who's trying to get some sleep and having a hard time over the din of the party, does find the soothing dulcimer tune to be relaxing enough to allow for sleep. And in the course of all of that, you earn 10 gold pieces worth of random coinage. Lulu, you're at the club. This is probably 11, 12 o'clock at night.
The Fight Club or Club?
The Fight Club. A halfling comes in as you are like getting yourself ready, sort of, wrapping your hands and, going through your pre-fight routine. A halfling man. He's probably about 4'2", both ways. Very round, portly gentleman. He comes in with like a turkey leg in his hand, grease sort of running down his knuckles. And he walks up and takes a big old chunk out of the turkey leg and says, "You're Lulu, right?"
Yes, I am. Who wants to know?
My name is Edwin. I'm here representing my employer who's interested in a business proposal for you.
What's your proposal?
You've been doing very well in the pits, and we would like to ask you to maybe not do so well tonight.
I can't do that.
I'm real wary of Allie making deals with anybody.
Hey!
You got your deal card revoked.
I'm trying to be more responsible and learn from the past.
In Fight Club.
In Fight Club. In the underground Fight Club. I have morals.
We're willing to offer you 50 gold. Take a dive.
Can't do it.
That's a shame. Good luck. I hear you're up against one hell of an opponent. He takes another bite and walks out. You finish getting ready. You go through your sort of ringside, the rest of your routine. You go wait at ringside. You're the third fight on the card for the night.
Okay.
And you see the halfling gentleman go up to sort of the promoter who's running the Fight Club and whisper a few things in his ear and slide him a small coin purse. You see the promoter sort of take out his notebook and make a couple of changes.
Oh, good.
And about 5 minutes later, just before you're scheduled to go on, the promoter walks over and says, "We've got a change to your card tonight."
Oh, yeah?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you've been doing real well. So we would like to, we're going to kick things up a notch for you. Should be a bigger purse.
Should be? Okay. How much did you get for it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You saying I don't run a clean shop here? You're welcome to go look for somewhere else to fight.
I'll still fight whoever you put in front of me.
Glad to hear that. Because you're going up against Firebrand. Now, you've seen Firebrand fight. Firebrand is a Ironbred.
Uh-oh.
Particularly, you've noticed that the technique that they use. You think that Firebrand might be being forced into fighting, because you noticed that they never refer to him as an Ironbred when he goes in the ring. They keep calling him a Sutek, which you know is pretty much the worst insult you can give to an Ironbred. The Sutek are the Titan spawn versions of the Ironbred who did not renounce the Titans at the end of the Titan War. So they refer to him as a Sutek. He goes into a blind rage and pretty much beats his enemies until people have to rush in and pull him off of them.
Oh,
Damn. That's hardcore.
The bell rings.
Oh, God.
And the promoter grabs a shell, blows the shell, and says, "We have a special fight on the card tonight. We have Lulu, undefeated, going against the Sutek Firebrand." And he comes just stomping into the ring, snorting and growling. They open the cage to send you in. Just step in.
I feel like I have to. I don't think I'm going to get out of here if I don't.
That's what pit fighters do. All right, you step in. Go ahead and give me an initiative roll if you don't mind, please.
Oh, God.
I was free.
Fighting begins. You're welcome.
I got a 3.
All right. He gets the first blow. He runs up to you and just screams and draws both of his hands back and brings them down toward your face. Does a 19 defeat your armor class?
Yes.
Excellent.
I'm going to die the first episode, guys.
It's not that bad after the first 3.
You take 7. You take 7 points of damage as he brings his fists down onto your face. Are you still conscious?
Yes.
Excellent. What would you like to do?
Am I fighting someone else who's a level 1?
You don't know. You've seen this person pick apart every fighter they've ever gotten into.
Oh, good. I'm assuming this is just fists. There's no weapons.
There's no weapons, but you are. There are also no banned moves. There's no. You are in a cage, which you are allowed to use if you so decide.
So I'm gonna try to go for a knockout Superman punch
All right,
to the back of the head, off the cage.
All right, go ahead and give me an attack check, please. And I'm going to let you go ahead and have advantage on this because he did recklessly attack you.
That's just a D20, right?
Yes. Now, remember, you are a barbarian, right?
Yes.
How pissed off did that punch make you?
It made me pretty pissed off. I've never used rage. I don't know what to do with that.
All right, so all you have to do is declare that you would like to rage. And when you do, that gives you +2 to your strength, +2 to your damage, and +2 to hit when you're attacking with unarmed strikes.
And double movement.
Okay, let's rage then.
All right.
Okay, so roll for attack, and I'm raging.
Yep.
Jesus. I got a 7 with advantage.
All right, so the 7, and then you add your strength modifier and your proficiency bonus to that. And then an additional +2.
Oh, God. That was better than my roll then. +6, +2, 8, +7 is 15.
Excellent. That's enough. You tag him directly in his face. Go ahead, and so it'll do, because you're using an unarmed strike, it will do 1 hit point plus your strength modifier plus your rage bonus.
1 hit point plus my strength, so that's 1 plus 4 plus my rage bonus. Where do I find rage bonus?
It's +2.
+2. Okay,
so you do 6 points of damage to him.
Mm-hmm.
So you punch this guy in his face. 7 points of damage.
No, it's 7. I'm sorry.
So you punch this guy in his face, and you see something you've never seen happen before when he was in the ring. He spits out like 4 teeth. And he looks you dead in the face and whispers something. What languages do you speak?
I speak Common, Lydian, Orc, and Lydian, Orc, and it's the really old one, Syrian.
Oh, yes. Sluritian.
Yes.
Right. You don't understand what he said.
Okay. Is there anything else I could pick up on, like body language, or like did he make a face?
Make an insight check if you don't mind.
So I got a 12.
You get a sense of...
I'm sorry, 13. Sorry.
You get a sense of respect and a sense of almost embarrassment. As soon as he finishes whispering this word, he falls to the ground and closes his eyes.
Champion!
The ref come...
Is there anything I noticed, like, because I already have a sense that this guy needs help, and my character would want to help him if he did need help?
Sure.
So am I getting any vibes that, like, he needs anything, or, like, he wants to get out of here, or I should just let him play out his act?
I mean, he definitely seems... You know enough to know that he is not in a good place and does not want to be where he's at. Specifically at this moment, you're pretty sure he threw the fight.
Okay.
So that's about what you can take away from it.
Okay. I guess I'm not going to do anything then.
All right. They raise your hand. You get paid out your purse, which is 5 gold for the evening's fight. And as you're leaving the fight club, why don't you go ahead and give me a perception check?
Perception. 17.
Okay. 2 things. One, you notice him, as you're leaving, you notice Firebrand being sort of escorted to a closed carriage. Closed carriages are pretty rare in Shelzar. A lot of the transportation is done on... I always forget the name of these things. We have 4 people, and you have like a cart that they're holding on their shoulders.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Right. Those kinds of taxis. That's where most of the transportation is done in Shelzar. So if somebody has a cart, has like a covered wagon, they're generally a noble. But you see him escorted out to a covered wagon. You got a 17?
Yes.
You also notice that the handler who is sort of escorting him is a gentleman. Looks like he's either orc or got orc blood. A little bit soggy around the midsection, little on the chunky side. Yes, I do think it's called a palanquin. Thank you very much, Yoden. And his clothing has like grease stains on it. And he walks him out and he sort of shoves the guy into the cart, gets in after him.
So I still feel like he needs help. So I would probably try to befriend the orc because I'm pretty perceptive and I know a lot of people in the area. Okay. So I feel like I would probably know something that he would relate to, and then I would try to get him to go to a bar and bring his friends. And why wouldn't he bring the fighter with him? Because that would look suspicious.
As you walk over to the orc, he looks over and says to you in Orcish, "Fuck off." And you see in the open wagon, like through the door of the wagon, where the iron bread is getting in, you see the halfling man chewing on another turkey leg with grease sort of flying everywhere.
I'm already half dead. I can't fight anybody.
You think better of
Can I persuade him?
They're pretty much gone by the time you think of like anything better to say. But as you're walking away, sort of nursing your wounds, getting ready to go back to the place and put the coldest slab of meat on your face that you can find, give me one more perception check, if you don't mind.
I'm sorry, say that one again. It cut out.
One more perception check, if you don't mind.
Sure. That one was a 3 + 3, so it's 6.
All right. You don't notice anything out of the ordinary as you walk back to the neighborhood. So, lastly, I would like perception checks from let's have Alan to make one at disadvantage. What you got?
So I got 11 plus 0. So that was 11 was my with disadvantage.
All right. Let's have Tan make one at disadvantage.
Oh no.
All right. Excellent. You don't notice anything. Let's have Breck and Charlung give me perception checks. These will be normal.
18 plus 3, 21. Veteran.
I'm staring at my work. I got a 5.
Right. And let's have Charlie make one at advantage.
Said perception, right?
That is correct.
My total is a 20.
Excellent. So Breck and Charlie are the only ones who notice this. As the orc that you've all sort of seen coming back into the hood, beaten up on more than one occasion, sort of stumbles into the neighborhood, swelling face. And you notice a Slytherin who's made a bit of a name for herself around here, kind of healing folk and helping people out. And sort of scurrying back toward her entry into the sewers. You also notice two people kind of making a quick passage through this alley. In fact, on the way out, they almost run into Ithrin as they're running out with their cart. Now, you're still bleary-eyed from the night before, Ithrin, so you barely notice them.
Yeah, I'm in the, am I hungover? Did I just drink a little too much? I'm not quite sure. But that was a great part.
Splinter, Rachel, are you like Splinter from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Not quite. We'll see how she develops.
I just mean, is that what you look like?
Oh, yeah, pretty much. She's more brown. She's got more brown fur, whereas Splinter was gray. But otherwise, yes.
It's like a young Splinter. But Charlie and Breck both very clearly see this cart as they're walking through with this sort of wheelbarrow. They definitely drop something out of it, basically on the stoop of this squat, and then make their way out. Something large.
So did they look dirty? Did they look frantic?
They did not look dirty. They were wearing
dirty, looking around,
no, they were moving with pretty strong purpose, pretty quickly, and they were wearing hoods. So really, and cloaks. So really, all you could make out was that they were humanoid. The thing they dropped was looked like a large rolled up carpet, or maybe a giant sack.
I'm gonna be hold my beer and charge out of the house veteran style with half clothed, the tail, maybe something on her head, and engage, wizard, fire, ready.
All right, the two of you run up that direction. Are you running as well, Charlie, or are you just sort of more walking over?
I'll run, but I'll do it real cool.
All right. So as the two of you approach,
I'm your songs are awesome while running.
And Lulu is walking up to the stoop. Tan, you've just woken up and are sort of taking in the day. Go ahead and give me a D8 roll, and let's see where you land today.
I did that just because I wanted to test it, and I did get an 8. I'm so excited that I get to be me.
All right, so you're unaffected this day. As you throw open the sash to take in some sun, you see these two sort of running over as Lulu stumbles over. Lulu, you look over, and as the three of you meet, you see in the center, directly on your stoop, Lulu, is the broken, bloodied, mangled body of Firebrand.
Oh.
And that's where we'll wrap up game for this week.
God. Oh, goodness.
It's not my stoop. I gotta go. I didn't do it. I've been busy.
I just got here, guys.
I just got here. You saw me walk over. I got snow weapons. Except for these bad boys.
So at this point, just as a quick reminder, and we'll say, for argument's sake, that let's have Ithrin and Haiku make perception checks for me.
Yeah.
That's a
12.
20.
Woo! Good job.
All right.
Woo!
And
Plus
what'd you-
1?
I got a 12.
All right. So yeah, we'll say the two of you do notice, as you're walking up as well, this body get dumped.
Yeah, probably huh?
So the only people that have not noticed it as of yet are Aland, and Charlon. The rest of you have all seen this body get dumped. Or this, you've seen the body there. You have not. Only Charlie and Breck saw it get dumped.
I'm ready to perform CPR.
I feel like she's probably like, huh? And then like her nose twitches and she's like, why does that smell like blood?
Excellent. So everyone remember where we parked?
Yes.
Tan, remember what personality is in charge? And Lulu, don't heal your hit point damage.
Oh, good.
Now, because we have such a big cast, we're probably going to do our outros a little differently for this show. So, show of hands, anybody got anything they need to promote this week?
I could promote my show tomorrow.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, so I run a Changeling the Dreaming Chronicle on the Onyx Path Twitch. We run every Thursday in roughly this same time slot. It's 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. And it is a generational game, and we just transitioned from 10th century Wales, and now we're going to be in 13th century Byzantium. So I'm really excited. Come check us out.
Should be lots and lots of fun. I'm a fan of that show. And what you got?
And tomorrow, I'm sorry, just real quick. Also, because I'm running Changeling tomorrow, Onyx Path is going to release their Changeling 20th Anniversary Edition rulebook for free tomorrow. So go get it. It's a great game. Go get it.
Yes, that's right. If you go to storytellersvault.com, you can get the Changeling PDF starting at 10 a.m. Eastern. Right now, you can go get the Mage 20th Anniversary Edition PDF for free at storytellersvault.com. If you, just go in, set up. If you don't have an account, it's free. Sign up for one and get you a copy of Mage 20th. I also have a Mage adventure up there called Weighing the Cost that I reduced to $1 for today. So you can pick that up too. And then you'll have a book and an adventure to run. Tori, you had something you wanted to share with the class.
I'm supposed to put out my thing tonight, but the thing is my main editor is also a small business owner, and small businesses are getting hurt real bad right now. So I was like, I took like the back seat, entertainment's in the back seat, your business and lifestyles in the front seat. So if there's any way to support small businesses, especially like sadly he owns a gym and no one wants to go to the gym right now. It's just not safe.
Right.
But yeah, I'm going to release my green She-Hulk short. It was going to be on St. Patty's Day, but it just happens that, everything gets affected. So it's all good. I'm not upset. I hope that everybody gets some positivity. So I don't want to be negative about it, but it'll come out soon.
Keep your eyes peeled for that. We will definitely be sharing that once it is live. And I know, Milena, you got a new YouTube video up, right?
Yeah. Basically, I'm posting them almost every day this week. So just check out my YouTube channel. Is youtube.com/Milena Deneno, or just search Milena Deneno on YouTube, and you can find all of the weird shit I'm posting. So.
And your Milena art on Twitch, right?
Yes. I switched it to Milena Deneno art.
Okay. So check that out on Twitch. And Sarah, you got something coming up on YouTube?
I mean, I have a live stream Friday. I was supposed to have a video on last Sunday, and I still haven't done it. So I guess I'll just have a giant video this Sunday.
Yay!
Mike, you got anything you want to tell the class about?
Follow me on Instagram, Mike_Mutant. I post stuff occasionally.
Sweet.
Art.
Corey, Roz, Allie, anything you want to tell the class about?
Nope.
With all the coronavirus stuff, just put like a little message of positivity out there. So I'm the flight commander for the transportation schoolhouse for the Air Force. So after kids go to basic training, they go get their job training. That's where they come to me, and then they go to their assignments. So we are taking really good care of people. If you know anybody who's joining the military, we're diverting assignments. So they get their postings in a country that's a CDC level 3. We give them new orders. They're in appropriate proportioned classrooms now with instructors. So I know, military, a lot of things seem like they do on TV and in the movies, but with all the stuff going down right now, we are really taking care of your family and making sure that if you send them to us, they'll get out of here okay.
Awesome to hear, and I'm certain a great comfort to a lot of people who maybe don't have a regular line on that kind of information. So thank you for sharing that with everybody. And then I guess I'm Travis Legg. I run this. When I'm not running this, I'm running stuff over at the Onyx Path Twitch. I'm their programming coordinator. I'm the Scarred Lands line developer. If you go to the Onyx Path website, we have playtests open right now. So if you go to theonyxpath.com and go to the open development in the drop downs, you'll find playtest content for Scarred Lands. We have Yugman's Guide to Gelspad coming out. We have coming out bi-monthly. The first edition is out, or the first installment is out. I can't talk tonight. Vigil Watch is coming out bi-monthly. The first installment of that is out. So the next installment of Yugman's will come out at the end of this month. And then obviously buy the Scarred Lands core book. If you haven't checked it out, it's a great setting. And if you want to see behind the scenes, get some heads up information about what's going on in the city of Shelzar, I have a book up on the Sluritian Vault. If you go to DriveThruRPG and you look for the Pleasure City of Shelzar, you'll find the source book I'm using to run this whole campaign. So lots of information on the city, on the NPCs there. Go pick that up, tell your friends. If you've never played D&D before and you want to learn how to play Scarred Lands, there's also the Serpent Amphora 5e Quick Start, also at DriveThruRPG. It's got everything you need to run it. The full 5e basic rules, as well as a full adventure and pre-generated characters based on the novel Vigilant Through Shadows and Dreams. Before we wrap things up, any questions, comments, complaints, or concerns about tonight's game? Did everybody have a good time? Are we having fun? Are we excited about the new setting? Was this a good session 0.1? Nice setup.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Excellent. I love starting something off with a corpse dumped on somebody's porch. So
oh my god,
it'll be a lot of fun. In case you're unaware, our schedule is 1st, 3rd, and 5th Wednesday. So we will be back here on April Fool's Day, of all things. So
I'm excited about the new players. Thanks for coming.
Yes, thank you to the new blood. Thank you, Mike. I hope you enjoyed it. Corey, it's always a pleasure to have you. So I'm glad that we're going to have you on a regular basis now.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Yeah, and good fight, good night. Take care of yourselves and each other, and wash your fucking hands, please.
Please wash your hands.
Please wash your hands. Maintain safe social distancing. We'll see you all in 2 weeks' time.
bye, you guys.
Bye.